the I don't know, probably 0 people watching still, but that's okay. 0 is better than a
One.
negative.
One.
Well, 1 might be better than 0, but 0 is better than somebody attempting to not watch. Or maybe a -1 would be somebody watching with their back to the screen the whole time.
Right. And their
So
ears plugged, going like this.
Yep. Yeah. You
Not
don't
gonna
want
do it.
that.
Like
So I
that's the one
assume-
person.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we're really not doing anything this week. Tyler did a lot, and
Did I?
but you're
don't know.
not doing anything, and that's why you're here.
Yeah.
You're here.
I'm not doing anything either.
Well, right now you're not doing anything, but you did a lot this last week, and I was reading it. Pretty impressive, man. Way to fill in. And we're talking about writing right now for everybody listening. We're talking about writing. We're writing. I'm trying to write. Tyler is writing. A lot of very clear details, concise, descriptive, adding, a lot of ideas flowing, I feel like, this last week.
Yeah, a lot of ideas floated. I'm trying to see if I can screen this out so I can get the words up on one side of the page.
Yep.
So, because I want to see the writing. Because
really
I assume we just still probably shouldn't invite anybody yet. Still,
I agree, man. I agree.
We need to get more written words out, so then we have more discussion points when we get people involved.
I think so too. I can't believe I'm really impressed how much work you did, man. That's really exciting.
I only wrote like one little thing.
I know, but that's a lot though comparatively to what was going on before.
Yes. Okay, so you saw it. Did you read it?
I haven't read it. Do you want to give me
I'll read it to you right now.
Yeah, let's read it to me now.
You ready?
Yes.
Because you're kind of watching football at the same time.
I'm not watching football.
Which it's okay. It's okay.
I'm not watching
Tyler
football.
Lockett's a beautiful man. I get it. Okay, ready?
I'm watching commercials. Okay, go.
A man named Robert Collins, a goofy average man, but always dressing to the T and going by the pseudonym Abel, is scrambling in his enormously oversized office with a desk full of papers and folders. He keeps looking at his computer screen and then looking down for a specific folder of papers, then murmuring to himself, "Why do you keep losing your shit, Abel? You got to get it together. I can't believe this is happening." Just then, his secretary, an abnormally short but well put together lady named Dottie, knocks twice, then peeks her head in through the door, saying, "You might want to start heading to the deep," cutting herself off abruptly, realizing she's not supposed to use the actual name deep room. The meeting room. It's getting very close to time. Abel looks up in a clutter and frustratingly says, I know, but my shit is everywhere and I need Doc's folder or they're going to rake me over the coals again." Dottie cuts him off. "I put Doc's folder in your bottom left drawer in the very back." Abel swings the door open with gusto, reaching to the back in a scrambled haze, pulls the file out and says, "Thank you again, Dottie. As always, you annoyingly save my ass." Dottie winks and shuts the door with softness. Abel stands up and walks to a mirror he has. Always being a quiet and humble man, but also quite self-absorbed, he straightens his tie and wipes his suit clean and smooth. Abel then looks at himself in the mirror and says, "Be confident. You understand these procedures and are intelligent enough to disseminate all the complexities." A balance of his self-absorption is a severe lack of self-esteem. He walks to his door, grabs the handle, taking one more deep breath, opens it, and walks out.
Very good. Very good. Dude, that's dope, man.
So what I was thinking when I re-looked at this, and then if you scroll up, you see how I highlighted "and a piece of advice: don't ever hire someone because they are ugly"?
Yeah.
And then I wrote in, or edited it. I said, someone beautiful such as myself can be as intelligent as any ugly bookworm. So this is what I was thinking, right? Is Karen Shepherd, who is a
That is
tall,
good, man.
right?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Karen Shepherd, her character is a tall, slender, attractive businesswoman, right?
Right.
And Chu, because I wrote down here, emphasizing her opinion on Chu's unattractiveness. This stemmed from the unacknowledged knowing, so Karen Shepherd knows this but doesn't acknowledge it, that Chu was a straight up genius graduate from MIT,
Yes.
although her emotional intelligence was something concerning. So Karen Shepherd is extremely jealous of Chu because Chu's a unattractive, okay, but incredibly smart person.
Right.
And Karen, in this dynamic of her intern or whatever,
No, that's perfect, man. That's perfect.
notices, there you go. Karen's like, hey, like I'm a smart executive businesswoman, but Chu's really like way smarter than her, but has no
Right.
self-esteem. And I think I even wrote in there somewhere about it. Boom, 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 boom. But I don't see. But yes.
You straighten up. Don't make the same mistake your parents did when raising you, giving a strong pause as she often did for emphasis and her style of belittling, ... and give up. Dude, that's perfect.
Boom. Time to be excellent. And so Chu is like a genius who is the intern for Karen, and
Right.
Karen is slightly jealous of how smart Chu is, so she constantly belittles her all the time. Her looks, on her ability to be, like stand up and straighten up, because she's just like really low self-esteem, very just like cries a lot.
Confidence.
No confidence, but is a straight up genius.
Yes.
And Karen knows this because anything she asks Chu to do, it's like done with emphasis. And then this Robert Collins, who always goes by the name Abel. I don't know why yet, but everybody calls him Abel.
Right.
I was thinking is like, he's kind of high up, although he's always cluttered. He's always in the know because he's pretty high up, but he's always cluttered in his own
always a mess.
But Dottie, who doesn't even have a last name, Dottie's just his assistant, who might even be like a midget. I know that's the improper term. A short person or a little person. I don't know. Right?
I think of all people as equals. So just some people are midgets and some people are not.
There you go. So Dottie is like doesn't have a last name, but she's always always just organized. Whenever Abel is like confused, Dottie's like, nope, that's over there. I already scheduled that for you. Dottie's like always just, and he's never asking Dottie to do this. She's just so good at being his assistant that she just like, boom. She's just always in the know. And she always just pops in randomly and she's like, that's over there. Or I already scheduled that. Just get going. And then she just picks it back out. So
she's the organized one. So Dottie kind of almost knows just as much as Robert Collins does. Kind of gave that away with the deep room reference.
Yes, exactly. Because Abel is Robert Collins is like Dottie's just like so good at what she does. She's just so organized that like he tells her everything basically. She's like a super trustworthy assistant who's just always on top of things. Right. And so she basically knows everything that Abel knows, even though her role is like not a huge role, but she's always there. She always just pops in, reorganizes, pops out.
I like this. This Dottie character could totally be a double agent in the future, working for one of our, one of the nemesis type characters. You know what I mean? And the whole time she was feeding information to, whoever.
Yeah, she might get bought out somehow. But yes, so, and then up at the top, this is what I was thinking, okay? Under scene frame 1, I added another bullet point, lead in with 5 to 7 entry scenes for the main characters establishing personas within the
Perfect.
boardroom, deep room. Okay. Everybody's going to call it the meeting room or boardroom. In their
Right.
discussion, you're only getting this small little hint in our second entry scene with Robert Collins and Dottie, where they start to deep, but she doesn't even get to deep. She's just
Right.
like, I just put the whole word there, but really he'd be like, she'd say to the deep, and then she'd cut herself off. And this whole room is called the deep room. And this is where a lot of actions happen. It's like deep, even though it's like high up in a
Right.
building and it's really nice. It's the meeting room, boardroom, but it's really called the deep room, where deep shit goes down.
It's yeah,
So
deep cover.
I was
So I like this. So that's kind of what we're doing is we're creating the scenes and introducing the characters. And so we have a couple right now. Yeah.
Yes, and then I started to write just before you logged on. Stan Efferdine, a tall, well put together man with a strong and articulate demeanor, is speed walking down the hall with two frantically writing assistants. He is sharply dictating with almost pinpoint accuracy of what he needs done. The two assistants are trying their best to keep up and keep pace with Stan. He is looking, and then I was going to say, like, over his shoulder, back and forth, basically telling like one person, like, schedule this, call this person, the next person, he's like, organize this, do this. And this scene, because I figured we had 5 to 7 lead-in scenes, and those will be like for the boardroom scene. There will be more, right? There's like, what do we say, 12 to 15 people there, but we'll
Right.
have 5 to 7 main characters. So then when the scene of the boardroom finally comes to fruition and establishes and everybody's there, he's like, we have our 5 to 7 kind of like main characters
Right.
that'll probably do most of the talking. And there's some, for the audience, there's some type of understanding of who they might be in regard to what's talked about at that meeting.
Right. Right. And we
Right.
just give them a brief introduction.
Yeah.
Just real quick, go from scene to scene to scene to scene to scene. And they're all kind of going towards one direction just from different places.
Yep.
Okay.
So the Stan Efferdine one, right? Because you have Karen and Chu who are in the elevator, and that's their scene. Then when their scene it cuts straight to Robert Collins and Dottie, and he's maybe even on the same floor, obviously in the building, and he's like in an enormously, like, he just has a huge office, giving the assumption that he's like pretty high up.
Right.
Okay. But he's in this huge office. He's scrambling. Dottie and him have a little character play in that scene. Boom. Then the next scene, I was thinking, and these are just, we can change these names or whatever, right? Stan Efferdine is like, he's like, the camera's panning to him as he's walking. So, the camera's like pulling back and the character's
Right.
like walking. So the camera's just falling back and it's just showing him speed walking down the hall with two,
Right.
just like, he's got an assistant on each side. So obviously he's very high up. And these assistants are just like notepads walking behind him, just like scrambling notes. And he's like very tall, like a,
Okay.
kind of just a strong character in terms of his like presence.
Right.
And he's just very just like,
And maybe there's other people in the office and they're looking at him and
watch him walk by. Yeah.
like mouth slightly ajar, like,
Yep. Don't see him often. And he's just like barreling, right? He's just barreling down the hallway,
right.
just giving just information left and right. And he's just like, he's like theoretically heading towards the boardroom. His scene is like he's walking down the hallway to the boardroom,
Right.
dictating a bunch of stuff to two assistants who might not even be main characters. Might just be like two, basically, I was thinking, unnamed characters. Maybe they have small parts. So maybe they're like a first name type character like Dottie is, but he's just like always with his two assistants. He always has two assistants with him because he's always just like scheduling, organizing, meeting people. He's just like, something like that. Maybe later in a entirely different scene, it'll show him in his office and he just like has assistant 1 and assistant 2, like 2 big red buttons on his desk. And he'll just be like meeting someone and he'll just like, boom, hit a button. A door will open on one side. The assistant will look in. He'll yell at them, do this, do this, do this, get this scheduled. And they'll write it down and then their door will shut. And he'll hit like this assistant 2 red button and the opposite side of the office door opens up and they're like, what do you need? And he's like, tell me what you need.
And then we haven't got the scans back from Yoshimoto.
Yeah.
And then he'll rattle off some other direction. And give me the number to, whoever. Okay, yeah. I like that. Okay. Well, do you want to write for a half hour and or 15 minutes, 5 minutes, and then are we live right now? Yeah, we're live. Okay. We're live.
Yeah,
that'd be dead air, I suppose, if we did that.
Yeah, I figured like right now. So then another character. Okay, so then because I thought about a few different scenes and we can play off ideas. We'll jot some notes down and then we can do some writing. So what I was thinking, the next scene, because the Stan Effergene scene is just like, boom. I like your idea though. Like maybe it pans to like a couple cubicles and they look at the glass and they're just gawk-eyed because it's like, boom. Because I was thinking Stan, I'm thinking like, okay, Karen Shepard is obviously like, my assumption of her is she's just like a bitch of an executive. Okay.
Right.
She's just like real high up, very cutthroat. Okay. Have you ever seen Taylor mention this the other day? And I thought it was a good mention. Have you seen the show Ozarks?
Love it. Watched 4 episodes in the last 7 days.
Yes. Did you? So have you seen?
I'm on season 1.
Oh, okay. So you'll get to a season, I believe it's season 2 that opens up her character. Okay. There's a lawyer, a female lawyer who's a very tall blonde lady. Okay, kind of like
Karen Shepard.
I don't know what her name is actually.
She already exists.
Dang it. So that is who I imagine when you watch. When she comes into the Ozark, I think it's in episode 2 or season 2.
Okay.
She's like a really tall blonde lady who is like the lead lawyer for, basically whoever.
The cartel?
Yeah, whatever drug lord they're working for.
Okay, yeah.
She's like a high up lawyer. And she's very just like cutthroat. Just like, she'll just look at you and be like, if you don't do what I say, like, I'm going to have your throat slit. Like, she's just very just like, she's no emotion in her face, right? That's who I see her as. So maybe that's a mindset to Karen. So then
someone really mean and ruthless. Yeah.
She's private industry. She's like executive on some very
she's
high
had
up.
to fight and scratch and claw her way to her position. She didn't get any favors. She had to outsmart, outwork everybody around her, and she's at where she's at now because she scratched and clawed her way to get to where she's at, and she will not take insolence.
Yeah. Have you seen House of Cards?
I watched the first season. I don't know if the second. There's one season where it kind of turned a little gay.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch that one.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, in House
you like cross that out. I had a gay scene coming here.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. Let's keep this PG. But
yeah.
I think of Karen as that type of person as well. Like she'll like trick you, manipulate, and backstab you into getting what she needs.
Right.
Okay.
There's no boundaries. You want to be, she makes it clear you want to make sure you're on her side.
Yep. And if you're not, she'll trick you and then she'll find information out on you. And she will tear your reputation apart. Right. And maybe she even eventually, it shows
you won't even know it's her. You won't even know it's her that did it.
That's exactly where I was going. Exactly. Two brains, one think.
Yes.
She's just like, she is like, she has her own like, kind of like she has her own private investigators. She has her own like, what are those called where you have like guys who do the dirty work for you? What's that called?
Like
She has her own.
she has her own private security.
Yeah, she has her own private cartel in a sense.
Yeah, her own wet work team.
Yep. So you got her, and then I was thinking Robert Collins is kind of, maybe he's a good guy, maybe not. Haven't really thought about that yet, but he's definitely like, maybe he's like middle level corporate where he's like in the know, but he kind of like, he needs Dottie to keep him moving, because if he doesn't have Dottie, he's
Right.
like a cluster of thought.
Yeah,
Like,
if you're talking about like structurally, Karen Shepard, they may be equals, but she spends her time and money scheming.
yeah.
Where it feels like that might not be the same thing for Robert.
No,
Abel's kind of Abel's just focused on what's in front of him.
and the reason I picked the name Abel is because Abel in biblical times means breath, okay? And Robert Collins is like always trying to catch his breath. So he's always got a little anxiety. So he's just a little frustrated and stressed out, because he's never really organized. And so basically Dottie's just his foundation. Okay.
Okay. I picked Karen Shepard because, like a shepherd in biblical times, she had a flock and a way to kill wolves that were threatening her own interest and interests of her small community.
I like that.
And then, so I have a character idea.
Yeah.
So you have a couple characters. I have a character idea.
Okay.
Now this might be the last one we show, or it might be the first one we show. It doesn't really matter. Or it could go in and out. Like every time we introduce a character, you get to this character. So first, it's a first-person view, and it's like 24 inches off the ground, super low to the ground, and it's going all over the place. It's looking this way. It's looking this way, and it's walking quick. And then it looks in an office, and somebody's working, and then like they slink below their computer to try to hide. And then so anyways, come to find out, this is a dog. Okay. So check this out. The dog goes through, and after we show the first person account and end out of that scene, then we can show the dog look and listen to things that transpire, and then continue on to the deep room. Okay. And then we have he goes up to Chew as Chew's still in the elevator, and the dog looks in the elevator, and then Chew looks down at the dog, and then Chew walks out of the elevator. The dog keeps going. You know what I mean? So being this dog, I don't know what it is. The dog goes into the boardroom and jumps up on the table, hits a button. The button turns on the TV, and words start appearing on the screen of the TV. And some people are already seated. And this is coming from some other source to the dog's brain. This is part of the technology. So you know how we're trying to, we're doing a scene frame, but if we look at some of the other things we wrote, we're trying to sell the board on something. Well, the creator of this software didn't come in person. He sent the dog with the chip implanted. Okay. And so he's rattling off like, hi, I'm a dog. I'm 7 years old. I'm a black lab. Currently, my owner is in Australia, and he's out 100 miles off the coast of Australia on a boat. I am being controlled right now remotely through this technology. And that's how it gets introduced, is this dog. And then someone starts to talk, and the dog goes, and then like bares his teeth and is like, "Rah!" Like, and it says, and then on the screen it says, "Shut up, never interrupt me," and is like right in the guy's face, like growling, like you know what I mean? And then he slowly turns around, walks around, his tail fully up, showing his,
yeah,
and goes back to the middle of the table, and it's just the dog. This dog is like walking around the table, as the words are appearing on the screen. People are distracted, like watching the dog. Is the dog going to attack me? And trying to read at the same time what's going on. I just thought that would be cool. It'd be a cool segue. Like we're introducing these characters, and then there's this dog. Like, what the heck's this dog? So it'd be a cool, like, maybe, this whole boardroom scene and intro maybe only lasts 10 minutes, but this would be kind of a creative in and out of, like, we would have the first person view of like the characters we create and their conversations they're having. Then we'd have another perspective from this dog. You know what I mean? Like, what's the dog have to do with it? It would be a little bit of mystery for a couple minutes, and it would show this technology that he's trying to sell to the board, or somebody's trying to sell to the board. I forget what we were doing with that. Let me go back and read that.
That I think is that would be good, and that could be the ending scene. Okay, and I'm thinking like to play off of that. So maybe like we do our 5 to 7, character shots, persona developments, and then on the last scene in front of this big building, you see this like this long ass Escalade limo. Okay, pulls up. Security guard goes and opens the door, and that's when you see like this vision. You're just looking through the eyes of the character, like you said, jumps out, right, of the Escalade, and that's the dog. Okay. He like looks up, makes eye contact. The security guard looks down, a little confused, and then the dog just starts heading into the building. Okay, and then the dog just like looks at security, keeps going.
Okay.
Goes straight up the stairs, and maybe even passes by the Stan Efferding guy, right? And then he like sees Chew, and she's like looks at him sobbingly.
Right.
And then he keeps going as Chew walks out the elevator. And then he passes by Abel, and then you see him like go do maybe another little round of things, and then he comes into the boardroom last, and then everyone's just like, and then maybe Karen Shepard's like, who the fuck brought a dog in? Well, I probably can't say that on YouTube. Okay. No swearing, I think.
Yeah, let's just keep it PG.
Yeah. Then Karen's like, who brought the F dog, right?
Something about a seeing eye dog. Is this your seeing eye dog, Abel? Or, something like that.
And demeaning him a little bit in it.
Yeah.
Because all these characters, obviously, like they know each other.
Right.
And the only like unknown still character potentially is the guy in Austria or somewhere controlling this dog with a linked Neuralink brain thing.
Yes.
Okay. So then
and then also maybe instead of just words on the screen, it's reading it in a voice. Like a voice is narrating it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's not necessarily silent, but it's like reading it.
Gotcha.
And then the dog has to pee on something. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
So I wrote a lot of this down, and while you were giving the description of your characters, this popped up into my head. I was like, oh, do this. This would be fun. And then I do have another character at some point, but he's not at the board meeting. Now, can we have characters that don't go to the board meeting, but are just in on a teleconference?
Yeah, I mean, we could have people who are like
in on their phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like maybe we're like, hey, let's call in, blah blah blah. Because Stan Efferdine, I was thinking, is like he's really high up government level. So maybe he's like even like the Secretary of Defense or something like that. Really high up government official. Okay. And that's why he's just like, comes off really strong demeanor, very articulate. Everybody kind of just oogles him a little bit because he's just like a tall, well put together man who's like just comes off with a very like demanding, but not in an a-hole way like Karen, but his presence is just like he's freaking high up. Like he knows what he's doing. He knows everybody. He always has the two assistants who are just trying to keep up with him constantly because he's just like an extremely strong-willed character.
Okay.
And then from him, after his scene, I was thinking because this will be our fourth scene, right? Because we'll have Karen, and maybe we'll change the order, but so far we have Karen, and then we go to Robert, and then we go to Stan, and then this fourth character, I was thinking of the name Ryan, but I don't know yet. He's like, when it shoots to him, he's at the front security office, like he's at the bottom of the building, okay? And maybe this is like the first character that the dog sees, okay?
Right, coming in the building.
Yep.
Okay.
Because Ryan is like, maybe he's like a technology guy or something, and he's like, he's a good guy, kind of a softer spoken man, but very intelligent. He's actually at the security desk, and his scene is he's arguing with the security because he forgot his credentials. And they're like, well, you're not on the list. And he's trying to be like, debate with him a little bit. He's like, no, I'm supposed to be in this meeting. It starts with this. Can you just look
at it? There is no floor 13.
Yeah. He's like, but he forgot his badge. He's like, I think he just lost it on the airport. And so his scene, he's like, it's just him. Kind of like, maybe he's got like a clip-on tie, right? Because he's like, maybe he's like he's smart and intelligent, but he's kind of goofy, hasn't like made it up in the industry or whatever yet. And so he's just like debating this with the security guard, like, come on, I know there's this floor or whatever. I know there's this meeting room. It's called 113. Like, I got this email. And the security guard's like, I don't know what you're talking about, sir. And he's like, so his scene is going on. And then during this scene, I'd figure like a guy comes in through the front entrance of the building, okay? And then we pan to this next scene. Then we move to our fifth scene. And this guy is like just dressed to the nines. He's in an all black suit, okay? Or maybe a female, all black suit though. And they walk in and like Ryan, while he's like kind of like, just arguing with the security guard, like the security guard looks over and then you see Ryan look back. And this person is they're just black suit. They just flipped out a badge, like one of those little string badges. Yep. And they're like way at a distance, and the security guard just acknowledges them, and they just snap it back and keep walking. And then you see Ryan just like he doesn't know what just happened.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this black,
like
and then
this.
Yep. And then you just see them get in the elevator, and maybe they even have sunglasses on. They're the type of people who wear dark sunglasses.
Yeah, Matrix type people.
Yeah. Yeah. And they just like walk in the elevator. They get in the elevator, and maybe they like pan down, and it shows some message on their phone that's like some kind of like secretive or like underground message. They look at it, put it back in their pocket, or they just text back like, yep, on my way or something.
Do they do everything at the same time? Like you get the camera angle of them walking. It's like click, 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 click. And they're like side by side. They're walking at the same left foot, right foot, same time. They enter into the elevator.
Oh, like two people.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And they both flip their badges up.
Yeah.
And the security guard looks around Ryan, and he's just like, just waves them off.
Yeah, they stop at the same time, then they move at the same time, and it's
Yep.
like you're getting the foot angle of their feet, clack, clack, and it could be man, woman, could be both men, could be both women, whatever. They could be dressed really similarly. They
Yep.
could be twins, whatever.
Yep. And then they walk into the elevator, and then just like they both turn and face, and the camera like is behind them, and they both like walk into the elevator, and then they both spin at the same time looking forward, and then they both pull out their phones and get duplicate messages, and they
Right.
respond the exact same way. They're both like on my way in synchronicity, put their phones in their pockets, and then you see the elevator door close.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And then
I
it
like
pans
that.
back to Ryan. Maybe it goes back to Ryan for another hot minute. And he's like, no, blah, blah, blah. I'm serious. Blah, blah, blah. And then the security guard like picks up a phone, and then he puts it down. He's like, okay, I'll let you pass this one time or something.
Right.
And then Ryan like flusterly like grabs his briefcase and like knows he's
Okay.
running late, right?
Has
Or
to take the stairs.
and
Shows
maybe
up all sweaty.
when these two guards or whatever, these two people in black, Matrix style, get in the elevator, they pan back and now they're both facing it. Then
Yep.
it pans to their phones, okay? And they get that message, and then they both respond the same way. And then
Mhm.
simultaneously, it cuts really quick to the dog, and the dog walks by, looks up at Ryan as he's like now flusterly trying to be, no, I'm going to be late, blah, blah, blah. And then
Yeah.
the dog gets into the elevator and stands in between these two people in black suits, and the door closes.
Nice. Nice. So you don't sometimes you don't really know the dog's even there because
Yeah,
you're showing people from the waist up.
yeah, exactly. So maybe they don't even know. The dog just gets in the elevator,
And
and
it
then
said the message could say um something about I'm the dog or I'm running like the dog is running my newest software. Make sure he makes it to the room or
boom.
whatever.
Yep, and then they're like with us, or they're like on its way, or something.
Package is on its way. Yeah.
Package is on its way. There you go. Like that. Okay. So then the sixth scene will be the dog. Okay. So then we basically have 6 scenes there. We have 6 scenes. And then
Sure.
we'll pan back a little bit, right?
Right.
Maybe it's like, so I was thinking like maybe one of the scenes like when the meeting comes together, the dog will start it. Okay. And then maybe Ryan, he ran late because the security held him up because he forgot his credentials and they didn't even know where he was going. They had never heard of this, you know, this secret room or whatever, or this floor that this meeting's on.
Right.
And maybe he like, he's like shuffles into the meeting like he's like panicking because he's like walking down the hall and sees that everybody's sitting there and they have already started.
Mm-hmm.
So he like walks in and he like shuts the door, as he comes in the door and he tries to shut the door quietly. Okay, and everybody looks at him as they hear the door click, and then he turns to go to his seat, and then his clip tie gets pulled off. And then it pans to Karen, and Karen looks at Chu and just rolls her eye in this disgust that an indolent like that, is even let in this room. And then it pans back to Ryan, and he like nervously and embarrassedly like pulls his tie out of the door and like sits in like a back chair that's maybe against the wall, not even on the boardroom level, not even on the conference table. So we can have like we'll have lead-ins for every character, and then maybe we'll have a couple bounce scenes where we bounce just to again develop a stronger hold of who that character's persona is.
Right.
And then eventually it all collides in a longer scene of the boardroom where the dog explains this, does his little thing, boom, boom, boom. And then maybe it pops on screen, right? Of the guy who's controlling the dog, but maybe his face is blurred, or it's just like all black face, like just a silhouette of him.
Right.
Something.
I like it. I like it. I think that's a strong scene, and we're able to give up as much information or as little information as we want, kind of as we go, to keep the suspense type of thing up. There's definitely there's some funny parts in it that are just like that are like, whether they're intentional or not, it's gonna be like something to. It's not just gonna be drama, you know what I mean? I can see it like you can make it as an intense or like kind of funny as you want just by how you direct it. But yeah, dude, that's I like that. I like that all the things are coming together to converge. And now you have a character base. Now you can go off from the center piece that you're at and go off. Now you can go on tangents and backstories and
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You can like have scenes that maybe just involve Karen or something.
Right.
Maybe it shows like her family dynamic as she's like being a cutthroat businesswoman. She has some 12-year-old daughter who's like
yes,
tries to appeal to.
that she's waiting out in the rain, like watching her do a piano recital through the window, you know.
Yeah,
and
but she's
like
on the
wishing she
phone,
could.
and
Yeah,
she's like, "Take him down. I cannot deal with this invalid anymore."
yeah, and she's looking at her daughter, and yeah, I like that.
So, and then her daughter comes out of the piano recital, and she's like sitting in the back of a black Escalade or something, and somebody just opens the door for her daughter, and her daughter sits in. You can tell that there's like this weird dynamic where they love each other, but they also like don't really talk because her mom's just stone cold about everything.
Also, and her daughter's going through that weird phase where they don't really like their parents or anybody except for their friend group, and parents are dumb, man.
Yeah.
You know.
And her daughter's like, "Did you even see my recital?" And even though Karen was standing in the rain watching it, she's like, "No, I don't have time for that."
Yeah.
But she like secretly was watching it. Maybe her assistant, she was like
holding the umbrella.
And she doesn't let Chu stand under the umbrella either. Like Chu's
Right.
in the rain, holding the umbrella over her. And Karen's just watching this, making some cutthroat business calls. And then her daughter's like, "Did you even see it?" She's like, "No, I don't have time for that." Even though she saw it, she doesn't want her daughter to know she has any emotion.
I love it.
Yes.
I
Okay, we got
absolutely
some
love
good
it.
like initial first scenage going.
Great first scene. Hold on, I'm gonna get a water real quick. Half hour. I really don't feel like eating. Okay. Yeah, Tiffany was talking about going and getting a Christmas tree later tonight. I'm like, no, please, no. Please, no. Yeah. So my favorite part about this is where we're going right now is I'm having to write down some like little details a little bit, but there's so many different directions you go. Once you start writing this out, I think like it'll exponentially take off as far as what direction we're like. Because I wouldn't say I had writer's block, but I was just like, man, I just had to sit down and just start cranking out words. And then I think now that after like just this last half hour, I think Like, I'm like, dude, there's unlimited amount of ideas now. Now there's like, now you can really build on and then go back to this character scenes and build those up. You could, you know what I mean? Now the ideas are starting to come out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, man, imagine this, dude. We are going to be able to go back on, look at these. I wonder if we could edit these shows down, like, and put them in movie credits or put them in the post, like director's cut. We're talking about a scene 2 years before it was made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be cool. Hopefully we'll be able to use this, and hopefully this will be like for super fans. This will be something really cool.
Yeah. They see this
also, what's that?
They'd see this whole thing, the development.
Right. Okay. So did I show you that book last week, The Fight?
No.
I didn't.
No.
It's from my insurance guy. Yeah, I showed you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay. So, he can come on at some point to talk about his book. I'm wondering if we give it like another 3 or 4 meetings and he can play one of the characters. And we do that, then we could start doing that is like oh man, I'm trying to figure out the format for the show we're doing, because it's really cool right now, but I'd like to do like writing, almost like writing off air first, and then like a quick 30-minute show with like on schedule with a guest. Like have Jenna or 2 guests or something.
And then go through one of the scenes.
Yeah, go through one of the scenes. Once we get like a rough draft of one full scene, which I think at this pace, how much you wrote, I think we're like 2 to 3 weeks away. If I write as well. And Tiffany told me if she gets a free second in her life, she'll help me as well. Like I'll write it out and she'll be like, oh, like we'll banter back and forth. That's what I mean. That's what what we're doing right now works best for me, for like, oh, okay. And then I'll like write that idea down, then I can expand on it. So I think in 3 weeks, man, we're going to have a full scene, and we'll be able to bring in a person, 2 people, 3 people, or whatever, and basically give them lines. What do you think about that?
I think that's a good thing. I think we need to establish, once we've polished up how we have our outline, because obviously all of this is up for manipulation and movement.
Right.
So we have a general outline of, okay, these are who our character are. These are how many scenes we have. This is where our final scene is converging together. We have an establishment of the character type. Then we can bring in and start building lines within each scene.
Oh, I got you. So do the outline first and then come back and start
polishing it.
Okay.
Kind of like what we're doing now. We're starting to get some characters. We're starting to get some scene ideas, right?
Right.
So then we have our merge scene where all the characters come together, and then we start going, okay, Jenna, you're coming on. This is the character. You're Karen Shepard. Put yourself in the mindset. Or I'm Karen Shepard and you're Chew. Put yourself in the mindset. This is what I say to you. Respond to me. And then we'll establish some lines, and then maybe even go, okay, now let's last 5 minutes of the guest time on. We're going to dialogue. We're actually going to read these lines as the characters.
Okay.
And we try to really get into them, because the more that we play these characters, like the more you like bring on, like, okay, like
you kind of get to know them a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I get to, I was like, what's that called? What's that called where you're like an extreme actor, like Leonardo DiCaprio? You're where they're like so into the character that they like basically are the character.
Right.
It's called
I know it's what Robert Downey Jr. did in Tropic Thunder.
Yes, exactly. What is that called where you're just like, you are the character?
Yeah.
Method acting.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I forget
I
what
think
it's
it's
called.
method acting.
Method acting. There you go.
Okay. So we need to play these characters. Like when we read the lines, if I play Abel, I've got to put myself in the mindset of Abel as I read these lines, because the more I get into his head and let it become mine, then the more I start to create a backstory and think like, okay, yeah, if I was this character, I probably would have had, I'd probably be on my second wife or third wife.
And that's when you can start giving the history, and that would be like another, like,
yeah, I'll probably have. Yep. And like if I'm if I'm Karen, right? Karen's probably like, again, like Karen has like a dispositioned relationship with her child because she's so cutthroat. She doesn't know how to be a real mom because she like doesn't have an emotional bone in her body. Stan's like just so high up that that like he just like goes on these big wig, he goes on like super expensive yachts and has meetings with like the International Rescue Committee or like counterfeit units. He's meeting with Custom and Border Patrol. He's like,
he's very well connected.
Yeah. So you can just assume that he's always got like 2 cell phones on him. You know what I mean? He's like, if he's buying a suit, he doesn't go to a store. Like he walks in and they've already custom got his measurement Gucci suit sitting on the rack. He just grabs it, slips the guy 2 G's, and then walks out.
They come to his office.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So the more that we develop the character and start reading lines and each take part in being the character itself, then the more we like establish, okay, this is how my character, this is what kind of childhood I probably had to be this character, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is, like maybe Stan, right? Maybe his character like went to like some kind of military boarding school because his parents were just like really like just intelligent workaholics, which he became, and his parents
ex-military.
Like, yep. His dad was like some high-level general or something. They moved around a lot. And so you start to see like, okay, this is why he acts the way he does. And then it gives you more articulation in how they're going to speak because you are thinking, okay, this is who I am. And your backstory is developing. Then you become more of who that character is each time you read that character line.
Okay.
Right?
I like that.
And then our guest spots are just really helping us determine the language we want to use, the interaction, you know what I mean? And then maybe we can ad lib a little bit, and that helps develop our lines. Because it's like, oh, you said that. Actually, let's go back, read that line again. I'm going to cut you off now because I feel like as Karen, this is what I would have wanted to say. And I don't hold back as Karen. So you said that to me, but let's go back a couple lines, read it again. I'm going to add this line and be like, shut up, Chew. Grab your pencil. Is it even sharp? I don't even think it's even, gosh, you're a waste of my time. And then you walk off, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That would be perfect. So yeah, you could get into those back and forth and just, give characters the backstory, and then you're kind of seeing how other people's interpretation of the information you gave them would come in.
Exactly. And then we're just becoming these characters. If we really want to make this like a really good, whatever it becomes, if we want to make this like legit, really good writing, we have to be these characters. Because this is not just like a story we're telling. No, this is a live action play of real people. And we need to make this like feel as though it's like, man, those characters were developed.
Right.
Even if we don't necessarily speak on some of the information of the characters, if we know, like, hey, as Abel, like, I was pretty popular in high school, but my dad was also an alcoholic and he
Right.
used to beat me when I messed up. That's why I'm like self-absorbed, but I also carry an extreme lack of self-esteem because I had this dad past. And maybe the story never acknowledges that part, but if we know that internally, that will help us play the character's
I got
role.
it. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Right? Because we have to develop eventually, as we build these characters, we'll slowly have Karen on our, like, because like we'll develop this story and the scenes and the lines, but then we also need to create second pages where it's like who Karen is. And Karen has an entire backstory of like
Okay.
how many brothers she has, right? Maybe she grew up in a house where her mom was not present, so that she didn't get any emotional support. And she had three brothers who were all military brats or who were all like really intelligent and made her constant. And she was the youngest, so they made her constantly feel like she didn't live up. And that's why she has like a disposition towards guys. She doesn't like smart people because she was the non-smart in the family, and so
Right.
she just
Always
cut.
trying to compensate.
Yep. And so that's where it's like, okay, that makes sense to her character. Only had a dad who really wasn't around, had three brothers who constantly just like made her life hard. They were all older, all naturally really smart. And she's a pretty woman, but she never
Yep.
was super intelligent. So that's why she's just like, no, I'm going to
Right.
backstab, I'm going to manipulate, I'm going to cutthroat. I'll get to where I need to get, no matter what it takes, to prove my brothers and dad wrong.
And to prove my value.
Yeah, exactly. And then Chew, maybe Chew's just a character who just like, just didn't, her parents like, basically told her she wasn't going to amount to anything, kind of gave up on her, like Karen insinuated a little bit. And
Right.
so Chew just buried herself in books and became incredibly intelligent through her backstory. And that's why she's just like has no self-esteem, is just overly emotional, but is also just so smart that she just puts everybody to shame because she can answer any question. She's like, well, actually, you need to remember that these two organizations have this type of contract. And Karen's just like, shut up, Chew. Don't you think I already know that? Even though Karen doesn't know that. And then Chew just really gave her the answer, but she doesn't never lets Chew know that she didn't know.
Exactly.
Even though Chew will like, she'll be
Gosh,
like,
you're
Chew,
an idiot.
report on this thing. And then Chew will write this immaculate report. Karen turns it in as her own work.
Always.
Always. Chew never gets the credit.
Yes.
That's why maybe Chew, like you said, maybe Chew develops this like secret hatred, and that's what causes her to become a little bit more bad or evil in a sense. She starts to be a little manipulated on the bad side of things because she starts to hate Karen, and she realizes at some point that Karen takes credit for all her work, never acknowledges her as a human being.
Along with Dottie.
Yeah.
Her and Dottie are
maybe they develop
actually
a relationship.
And Dottie secretly works for the NSA.
Yeah. But you don't know that at all because she's just this short, kind of well put together, really short. I don't know why I keep saying that, but for some reason in my head, she's just a little. She's like 4'6" or something.
She's unassuming. You'd never guess.
Yes.
She's an undercover agent, works for the NSA, trying to figure out the ins and outs of multi-billion-dollar corporations and what's actually going on.
And that's why they put her with Abel, because they were like, we're going to put you with Abel because he just is a clusterfuck. oh, dang it, I gotta stop swearing. He's just a cluster of information. And so you're just gonna organize stuff for him. And through that relationship development, because you're so organized and come
Right.
up with a very unassuming character, he's just gonna trust you with everything. You're gonna have access to all his files because he can't keep them organized. You're gonna have access to everybody he meets with, all his conversations, because he knows without you, he's falling apart. And maybe the reason he's falling apart is because his family dynamics falling apart. Because he's
Right.
like going through a divorce or something, or maybe his like, he's like taking care of an elderly mother who kind of secretly hates him, but she's really dementia. She has dementia, so it's like he has these spin-off scenes where he's like talking to his mom. You
Yeah,
remember?
he has a lot of stuff going on, and nothing's ever finalized.
Yeah,
Everything's always up in the air. It's never like there's never a moment where he's like, "Oh, that's taken care of." He shows up back to his like condo and the lights are off. He's like, "What the hell?" There's
yeah,
always something going on.
yeah. Always
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
stuff. You remember the movie Crash?
I don't think I ever actually watched it.
Okay, it's a really good movie actually. So there's like a scene where a guy is a detective
Hmm.
and his mom is like kind of like losing it a little bit, and he like basically like buys his mom groceries, and she's like kind of a drug addict, so he like shows up at the house and
Hmm.
she's like kind of like just out of it because she's been just like smoking dope or whatever. So he like goes to the store, fills her refrigerator with groceries, and then in
Okay.
another scene later he like goes to visit his mom, and she's like, why can't you be more like your brother went and filled my fridge, even though his brother's like some loser, right?
Right.
His mom's just doesn't know, and she loves his brother more than him.
Mhm.
And so
Okay.
he just like doesn't even vindicate himself. He just lets
Right.
his mom assume that his brother does it. He's like too tired to even fight that
Right.
argument and be like, I bought the groceries for you, mom, because she just doesn't remember things anyway. And she's like doping up on the weekends.
Right.
Maybe Abel has like some character story like that where he's like trying to take care of like an ill mother, or maybe even his wife got early onset Alzheimer's. So
There
he
you
like
go.
comes home and his wife's just like, she's like the house is nearly on fire because she's like left a lasagna in the oven for 6 hours and it's just like smokes, and she's just like watching, antiques
Yeah.
roadshow.
Behind her, there's a fire going on. Abel walks in and is like, "Hey," and "Hi, honey, how's it going? The Price is Right is on."
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And he's just like so distraught because he loves her, but she's just going downhill with a vengeance. And he just like can't keep up with all right. So that's where Dottie comes in. So maybe through all these scenes, eventually, way down the road, we back scene it. And then there's a meeting, and that's when you realize, like, oh, Donnie was actually working for the NSA. And they actually
Yeah.
gave her the profile neighbor. They're like, hey, Abel needs a new assistant. This is what you're going to be on. And they may basically explain, like, this is what Abel's going through. He's becoming worse, disorganized. He's the perfect catch for you. Okay. You need to get in his books, you need to organize his files, and you need to let us know everything that's going on. And then you're like, whoa, okay, didn't expect
Dottie.
that normally short lady to be this secret agent who's now
Right.
basically came across as this nice, helpful, organized lady. No,
No.
she's just dipping into all Abel's files because he doesn't
And
know what's going on. His wife's trying to burn the house down every night.
and then we can show scenes from her at the farm doing training, like firearms training, espionage training,
And she's just
like
like on target, just like boom, boom, boom from like 1,000 yards out.
and we should show her on a computer like extracting files and like writing code and like
So
all that
maybe
stuff.
the dog in the first scene of the dog, right? You
Yeah.
just get a hint. Okay. So you're like, the dog's walking and blows past Abel, and
Yeah.
Abel's just like looking through these folders, doesn't even notice the dog because he's
Right.
just so clustered. And then the dog looks up and makes eye contact with Dottie. And there's just this weird transfer where Dottie doesn't look confused. She doesn't look like she's not in the know.
She's just staring at the dog.
Yeah, just like with this knowing, like, I know who you are and you know who I am, but we're just like, because most people will see the dog and they're like, what's a dog doing here?
Right.
But Dottie's just like, and then looks up, keeps walking like it wasn't even weird to her.
Right.
And that's when you're like, whoa, that was a weird scene with Dottie. But then you roll into her character for the next few times, and she just comes across as this sweetheart who's just so organized. But every once in a while, there's these little blips of it's like, oh, you would think.
And then as she's getting her boss ready, she slips on a little, like one of those little dots, recording things, live recording things on his lapel, like as he's walking out. All right.
Yep. And maybe even have a scene where somebody like is walking past her desk and just catches a glimpse out of the corner of her eye, and up in the top corner screen of her computer, it shows a camera that's in Abel's office, but you just barely catch it. You just barely see this camera where Abel's like at his desk working, and it's like, oh, that was weird. But then it's like, you just leave that scene quiet.
Right.
And you just keep building Dottie's character in the opposite direction of who she really is.
Right. Right. And then every time that she comes into interaction, it's like, oh no. And maybe that's the conflict that you want to see between two characters, is like you have the sympathy because Abel's the one taking care of the sick relative or whatever. He's always giving, everything's always going wrong for him. And the reason he's always tired is because he's always fixing stuff at the house. It never works, or, whatever. It's like this, you're really empathetic towards Abel.
Yeah.
And then Dottie is maybe viewed as like we're very, like the person watching is very suspicious of Dottie.
Yeah.
Like you could play it off. Who knows how it'll come off? It's just, I guess, how we write it.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow, man. I like it.
Let me pee real quick.
Okay.
And then I got to go soon. But let's wrap this up real quick.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hurry up. Don't forget to wipe.
I can't think when I got to tinkle.
Don't forget to wipe. Tyler has both male and female organs, which is a sight. If you haven't seen that before, it's really, really interesting. Okay, so we're banging this out. I have a new character who is I don't know if I can insert pictures here. Eastern, yeah, he's going to be Eastern European. Eastern European dude. Copy image. Let's see if I can pop this on here real quick here. Make this smaller. Yeah, dude, it works. Okay, so I can put a I can put a picture right in here.
What was that? Where'd it go?
Hold on. I'm trying to put it back. There we go. This is my shipyard character.
Yes.
Except for he has long blonde hair, Eastern European.
Blown by the wind.
Blown by the wind.
Shipyard in South Oregon.
South Oregon.
So is that where this is all taking place?
No, that's going to have to. Well, I mean, that's up for debate because, right? I think should we have it in somewhere unsuspicious?
I would, what would be maybe idea is like, so while they're in the boardroom, right? And everybody's come together, the dog's doing his thing, boom, boom, boom. And then they're starting to talk about some significant information, okay? But before you really get into the spotlight of what the significant information is, it pans out. The camera pans out and then just like shows this like basically lightning speed video screen going across an entire country. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so it pans out from the boardroom and then just shows like the city becomes smaller and smaller and the landscape just like is flying by.
Okay.
And then it explodes into this shipyard scene. That's like on an entire different side of the country.
Okay.
Okay, and so this will lead into maybe scene 2.
Okay.
And now we're going to develop scene 2 thereafter because we have all our character personas for scene 1. They're in a whole nother part. I don't know if we're in the US, we're in the UK, maybe we were in like a South African nation. I don't know yet, right? But then it's like right before you really get to the good stuff. So then it pans out from the boardroom. Yep. And so you're like just about to hear what it's all about, but you miss it.
The camera pulls out along with the volume.
Goes straight out, like it basically pans out, and next thing you know, the camera scene's outside of the glass window, and these people are still talking. Then it just keeps shrinking smaller. The voices go down, and then it's just like lightning speed. You go and toss this quiet land of mass,
yes,
and then it like folds down into like opens up into this shipyard because you don't really know where you are. You just know you're in some like really high up, like a Hong Kong or a, Sweden type where they just have big, massive corporate buildings, everything's glass, but you don't know what country you're in yet. And then we go across this land and then it just like quickly zooms into a shipyard. That's like a port, like almost a Seattle type port, right? Or an LA type port, or maybe it's in the middle of a small town too, but it zoomed into this port
real quick.
And we have a whole nother scene that's going to happen.
Okay.
So zoom out to follow shipyard scene. And then maybe that one is more of a few character focus where it's like interaction. And they're doing something and somehow it's got to relate. So I don't know what our story plot is. I don't know how this relates. Maybe it's like showing some kind of need for why this AI would be developed. Maybe these people are working hard and, they're just like, it's not going right, or it shows basically maybe human error. So maybe scene 1 is showing like how this AI technology makes everything easier. And then it like pans out just before you realize how it would make everything easier.
Right.
And then it pans in to this shipyard scene where it's kind of like, maybe it's like a blue collar type environment. And it's showing like just normal people who aren't even really affected by what this organization wants to do yet. It's like showing where humanity is, and then shows like I don't know yet.
Okay.
Just an idea.
Okay. No, let's just go with it. So we have plenty to do, I think, on scene 1 for sure.
Yeah. We still got to polish off these 6 scenes. So I'm going to bullet these this week and be like, lead in part character 1, lead in character 2, character 3, and then we'll have 6 characters that we can pan back and forth. We'll go through all 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we
Yep.
might zigzag between all of them a little bit more, just little quick 1-minute scenes, and then next thing you know, they're all in the boardroom getting ready to meet.
Right. Okay, well that's I'll try to fit in where I can here. And now that there's something to actually write about and I have stuff written down, I think that will be really great. I'm starting to get a little butterflies a little bit. Are you feeling that way?
Oh, I'm amped.
Are you really?
This is coming together, my friend.
I don't know. I haven't felt this in a while. I don't know if it's nervousness or like, I don't know. It's not giddy. I'm trying to think of the word. What's the word? It's like, I don't know what the word is. I don't know what it is.
I don't know
But
either.
yeah,
But I
this
just
is exciting.
this feels beautiful.
Oh, it's looking good. It's smelling good. And I think the reason I'm feeling whatever this emotion is that I'm feeling is the amount of work that you put in, and how organized and structured it is, and your ideas are so quick. You know what I mean? And we're kind of on a similar, like we're kind of ping pong. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's really exciting to me. Okay, I need to make time. And I do, dude, I have time in the middle of the day now that we don't need to talk at this point, be like, hey, dude, are you getting on? Are you going to write? At this point, it's like, dude, you know what to do. Just go. Just start going. There's so many different directions. And
Give me a little momentum. The snowball's starting to get a little bit bigger. Started as a tiny dot with our first show, and now it's like, oh, okay, that snowball has weight to it.
Yeah, it was a water droplet.
Yeah.
Then it was frozen.
Yep.
Then it hit the snow.
Then 2 water drops collided. That's you
Yes.
and me rolling over each other. And then the idea is it's just like, oh, a couple more water droplets.
There we go.
Are you watching the finger analogy? Then more water droplets.
I was more thinking like this.
Oh, see, there we go. Yes, synchronicity. And then we're gonna get this rolling. We're rolling. We got some characters to work on. We'll polish it up. Then we'll bring some guests in.
Yes.
Go over some stuff with guests. Then once we've kind of nailed down scene 1 with our guests, maybe we pull the guests out for a little while. Then for a few weeks, we get scene 2 ready. Then we bring guests back on for a few spots. And then we go over lines with them. Boom. Then we move to scene 3, polish. And then it's just going to be quicker and quicker and quicker. Because now, once the characters are developed, then each scene becomes quicker because we know how those characters are going to respond and talk in that environment.
Right.
So we don't have to think so much about like, oh, well, they're like this. It's like, no, I know who Karen is. She'll cut your throat if she needs to. So if you say this to her, here's her response. No, Abel, you can't stay organized. Why don't you go home and take care of your dementia wife? Because I got stuff to do. And then she walks out of the office. Chill.
Idiot. What? No, it'd be something like, why don't you go home and take care of your idiot wife?
Yes, exactly. She wouldn't use proper terminology.
Right.
And then she would just like look at Abel with this like, I feel really sorry for you. And Karen's like, chew, I don't have time for this crap. But she's obviously going to use more aggressive language than crap.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Shu just looks like, I'm really sorry, and then has to walk off.
Or like one of these.
Slowly hating Karen more and more. Yeah, exactly. And Dottie's just like, I'm cute, I'm nice, but I have no expression because I'm actually evil. And then it'll just get faster from there.
Right. Yeah, and I think so.
And then as we get to the pinnacle of our scenes, then we'll figure out how to wind down the plot.
Yep.
Because it'll build up, and then we'll eventually hit a scene where it's like, whoa, okay, like Now all the stories are colliding. Okay. And then now from our scenes thereafter, it's like, how do we break this apart? How do we start breaking the characters down to where it's like, maybe this character dies off. Maybe this character has a mental breakdown. Maybe Dottie overtakes and now Abel's not even in it and Dottie's in Abel's position.
Right.
That'll all come together faster and faster. It's like a snowball. The more momentum,
Yeah, I think
the faster
so.
we go.
I think so. And then we'll need it. We'll have idea boards and we'll have plot lines and chronological things that we're going to have to keep track of so we can, you know what I mean?
That's a
Because
good idea. I need to pan this camera back eventually, get a big whiteboard on this wall so I can stand up and really put some notes on this stuff and just paint the board.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Just and so that I think we're at some point we're going to have that just for the simple fact of like, it's going to be too hard to remember. And because we have to keep the storyline like crisp, we're going to have to remember, oh, this happened on this date to Abel, and maybe characters cross paths. What were they wearing? They were wearing this on this, you know what I mean? Anyways, all right, bro, we'll get her done.
Okay.
Next Sunday, we should have double this amount, and I'm looking forward to getting down and writing.
Me too. This is going to be good stuff.
All right, bro, we'll get her done, and have a fantastic week.
You too.
Hey, what's the update on like real estate? What are you doing? What's going on?
I got one more week of school.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then Idaho requires 90 hours of real estate education. And then next week, after this week, I got to do a fingerprint. They got to make sure I'm not a convicted felon.
Okay.
Then January 4th is the real estate exam I have scheduled. And then I become an agent.
Right on. Are you going to do like cold, like a place?
I have an interview tomorrow at 6 with Winecart Realty.
Okay.
And I'm going to see, I met the guy, the broker seemed like a good human. And so we're going to chat it up. I'm going to give him like why I'm doing it, what my goals are, and then come up with maybe a game plan of like how that's going to come to fruition.
Right.
Yeah. We'll see. We shall see.
Okay, we'll get her done, man. That sounds like a fun little rip. Have you checked out the website? Anything that I gave you there?
I looked at it. There's nothing in Idaho.
Yeah, I think the reason is Idaho is one of the states that doesn't do it online. They still do it in person.
Probably have to go to like the county assessor or something and get the records.
Yep. That's exactly it. And I was just there's a couple, so if people pay their taxes at like you can't bid on the houses basically.
Yeah.
And there was a place that I was looking at, the opening bid was like $7,000. That was the taxes they owed over the last 3 years. They didn't pay their taxes.
Yeah.
And it went up to $310,000. And I was like, oh, okay.
Whoa.
All right. Well, it was like a 4-bed, 2.5 bath house in Snohomish. It was like an actually nice house on an acre.
So it's probably like a $600,000 house.
Right. Yeah. So anyways, I mean, there's going to be opportunities for something coming up, maybe. And there's just not a lot of people that like, since home values have gone up so much, all you'd have to do is go to the bank and say, hey, over the last 3 years that I didn't pay my taxes, my house almost doubled in value. So I want to take out $7,000 of equity to pay the taxes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're like, got it.
Sweet.
Done.
We'll do that. Yeah. Okay, man. Well, I'll let you get done.
Well, this was fun. This was
It
good.
was great, man. This was freaking great.
I will see you next week about the same time, definitely in the same place.
Yes. Doing nothing together.
We did nothing today, but we got real far in the nothingness.
We did it. All right. See
All
you
right.
later, bro.
Love, peace, elbow grease.
Elbow grease and peace and love.
Bye.